Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? Bet you weren't expecting to see me so quickly and so soon after I just released an episode of the Review and Rob Show. But here we are again, man. We had a big news break that happened over in the horror realm involving the Saw series. So I'm going to talk about that. And, I just happened to watch a movie. So I was like, hey, man, let's do a quick Review and Rob episode, special, multiple. This could end up happening a lot, more in the future as I continue to work things around with this show. But we're going to have fun, man. So hopefully you already saw the other episodes. It's been out half a day. But if you've not, there's the other episode out right now with the borderline review and all that good stuff. But without further ado, we're doing another episode, man. So we'll jump into the review first, then we'll get into that Saw news for you after it. So if we're going to be talking about the film, The Electric State, over there on the Netflix. It is rated PG-13 for sci-fi violence and action, as well as language and some thematic material. Film runs in at 2 hours and 8 minutes. It's classified as a sci-fi adventure comedy film and is streaming on Netflix. I'm gonna go around the synopsis because I don't want to necessarily spoil anything. You can probably pick up on some of this stuff in the trailer if you saw it, but just in case you didn't, this movie follows a teen who hits the road with a mysterious robot in search of something important to her. They end up teaming up with a smuggler and his wisecracking sidekick robot. So that is a little bit of synopsis with going around the spoilers. It stars Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt. Now, my friends, I am always 100% honest with you on this show. It's one of my things, man. I like to be honest, especially when it comes to reviewing movies and everything of that nature. And I'll be honest with you. I had no intention of seeing this movie anytime soon. Like, it just recently came out, and I didn't have much intention in wanting to see this movie. I remember seeing the trailer months ago, like, all right, whatever, and all that stuff. And I was just like, I don't know, I wasn't in a rush. It'd be a movie that I eventually got to before the end of the year because I do try to see as many of the 2025 films in the year as possible. Not really chasing a goal. I just want to see all the new stuff that comes out. I'm a movie guy, and figured at some point I would get to it. Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt are in it. I've watched a bunch of their stuff, so I'm like, I'd eventually get to it. I've seen their things. I like some of their things, so I was like, why not? We'll eventually get to it. Honestly, the reason I watched this movie so soon is because today, I'm a huge wrestling fan. You didn't know, WWE fan, and Monday Night Raw came on at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon because they're on the other side of the world, basically, over there. And so it started at 3 o'clock, and I was like, all right, I've already got Netflix up after watching Monday Night Raw, and why not? Why not go ahead and watch it? It's right there. It's the first thing that pops up when you open the Netflix. So I'm like, you know what? Why not? We got time. There's no Raw tonight. It already happened. So let's go ahead and watch this movie, man. And again, went into it without knowing much. Didn't really read the synopsis or anything like that. Again, I saw the trailer months ago. So all I knew is that Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt were in it. Like, I really didn't even know most of the cast that's in this movie or anything like that. And again, I think there's a little bit of worry with these Netflix movies, these Netflix original films, whether or not they're going to be a good movie or not. Um, Especially more recently with that Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz film. I was a little turned off of the Netflix movie after that one because that movie was brutal. But watch this movie anyways. It's from the Russo brothers and all that stuff. So again, a lot of pieces in this movie that I'm like, I'm familiar with them. I know what I'm getting into with this stuff. We'll just throw it on and say we watched it to watch it, right? And as it's going along, it's telling the story and all this stuff. And again, I'm talking around myself not to spoil anything, but it ends up being a interesting story. It's got a bit of a so basically it takes place in the 90s. Robot war happened between robots and humans and all that stuff. The robots ended up not listening to the human commands, and it ended up going to this huge war. Lo and behold, humans end up winning. They banish the robotics to the electric state and things of that nature. Um, we move her again. Can't spoil anything, but so that's part of the story. There's a huge other piece of this story that involves Millie Bobby Brown's character, the teen we were mentioning, um, and the connection. This robot comes into her life out of nowhere and ends up leading her on this journey to find an important piece of her past. And good story, man. Like a good, compelling story to keep you going to see where it all, you know, ends up unfolding. So they end up going on this. They see Chris Pratt's character. They get involved with them and all that stuff, and that leads into this whole world stuff with the electric state and the robots and all that stuff, and leading into these bigger pieces of the story and the what's really going on between behind everything and all that stuff. So again, don't want to spoil anything, so I'm being as vague as humanly possible with you here. Um, but it is a good story. It's a good, compelling story to keep you going through the 2 hours and whatever. It's like, what was it, 2 hours, 3 minutes? Like a little over 2 hours, 8 minutes. So, not overly long film. 2 hours is a long time, but I don't remember anything in the movie where I was like, I don't need to see this. Like, none of this doesn't make sense, and none of this isn't important. Like, all of it fit very well. All of it made sense to the story that they were telling and the pieces they were building to and putting together to get you into the next world. Um, Sci-fi, we talked about robots, all that stuff, looks really good, man. Like, it looks really honestly good. I know CGI has been the topic of many subjects lately when it comes to films and all that stuff. And we got the Snow White movie coming out soon, where a lot of people are talking about the CGI of that movie. So it's always a topic subject. It's like one of those little pieces hanging off the tree that people are easily to pull on. It's like, but the CGI sucked in this movie, man. No, this movie has very good look to it. The robots look fantastic. The world looks fantastic. Like, can't poo poo on any of the world itself. So the story, that's the story. Solid, compelling. The looks very good. The performances in it. Again, we have Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt. Almost said Pine. Chris Pratt. So many Chris's. And I think we kind of all get the gist with both of them. Like, both of them, we've seen them long enough. We've been with Millie since the beginning of Stranger Things. You've maybe seen her in other stuff. She's been in Godzilla movies. Does a lot of Netflix movies, man. The Enola Holmes films. That Damsel movie not too long ago, which is actually pretty good as well. And then Chris Pratt, most of you probably started with him with Parks and Rec, Guardians of the Galaxy, Jurassic World. He's done some other sci-fi movies and all that stuff that I haven't seen, but I think we get the gist with those two. Like, we know what we're kind of getting into with both of those two. We know they're fun. They got some comedic elements to them, but they can get a little serious at points in times. And I think they do a good job here. Like, and nothing over the top, nothing unexpected or anything like that from either one of them. But I think they're delivering perfectly for the way those characters are mapped out in this movie and the way those characters need to be in this film. Like, I think both of them working out well. I enjoyed both their performances, and even more so in this cast, stacked more than I realized. Like, it really stacked more than I realized. I was watching them, like, hey, that voice sounds familiar. Wait a minute. Because again, I like going in, I was like, I only remember Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt being a part of this, man. But freaking Stanley the Tooch is in this. The Tooch is in this movie. Ki Hu Kwan is in this movie. Let me go and tell you right now. Ki Hu Kwan had another movie come out earlier this year called Love Hurts or whatever. This movie, infinitely better than that one. I'm still happy that he's back. Can't wait to see what other things he has doing. I'm sure he's part of this Goonies film that's on the way, but happy his career has come back in a big bad way. Woody Harrelson's voice in something in this movie. Giancarlo Esposito is in this movie. Fantastic actor. Coleman Domingo, Jenny Slate, Anthony Mackie. Like, very, very. They even have Andy Machete up here. I wonder, who did he play? Is that who did Andy Machete play in this movie? Wait a minute. Probably doing one of the voices, I'm sure. Let's see, filmography. Now, this is what happens with the Review at Rob show. We just go off in a world here. He's an executive producer of the Electra State. Maybe that's why they have him in there. But fantastic cast. Start to finish, up and down, bottom right, all great, all providing great performances. And the human to cyborg, human to robot, or whatever you want to call it, element of the film works very well. It's an easy story tell, and they do it very well in this movie. So honestly, and again, going back to the story, a compelling, strong, fun story. Again, sci-fi, comedy, adventure film, all that stuff. It hits on all of those elements. I got some good laughs. You're gonna get some laughs with Chris Pratt, and I got some laughs in this movie. From them, some of the robots, all that stuff. It gets serious. It gets dark at moments. There's a bit of a thriller aspect in all of this stuff with the robots and everything, and some of the areas they end up going to. So good thriller aspects in it as well, and tearjerker. Absolute surprise of surprises. Got this guy right here to tear up during some of the movies. So I say it's freaking solid. Like, this movie, solid film, one of the better Netflix movies I've seen, definitely this year for sure. Um, and just I need to start a list on Letterbox of these movies on Netflix originals. Maybe I'll start another episode. I got so many shows going on in my mind, man, to things to do, and I just never do them. Don't really want to start a Patreon. I don't want y'all to pay to listen to my goofy behind, but um, we'll see what happens. But I liked this movie a lot. Surprised the ever loving ding dong out of me, man. But that movie was good. Like that was a good freaking movie. Like god dang, that was a good movie. Top five for me right now this year. I think that this makes 14 films I've seen this year. Easy top five movie of the year so far. Like I enjoyed that movie. What a movie. Kind of want to watch it again. I don't know if I'll watch it right away again. Get some other things I need to watch, but it's good, man. It is good. So if you have Netflix, check it out. It's worth your time. 2 hours. I know sometimes some people are like, that's too long. That's kind of standard movie time at this point. But I enjoyed it, man. Russo brothers delivered. Millie, Chris Pratt. I keep wanting to say Pine. Chris Pratt delivered. All fantastic. I have no quarrels with this movie. I thought it was very well done. Looks great. Works great. Good time to be had. So, and some tears will be had. So watch it as vague as possible for you. I don't like to spoil anything, so there's a lot of vagueness in there. But if you saw the Electric State, keep it spoiler free. But let me know what your thoughts were in the comments below, man. All right, so from there we're jumping into news with the big shocker that dropped on all of us horror fans today of the Saw franchise is seemingly done. Like done. We've been with this franchise, what, 2 decades? They released a ton of films, some really good, some and most recent one being Saw X, which was really good. And we were hoping, we were excited for Saw 11, man. Saw X ended great. Again, left some clues out there. We're like, okay, let's see where we're going. Where's this next movie going to go? Because remember, Saw X, even though it was the most recent film, timeline wise, it takes place between 1 and 2. So it was interesting to see. I was interested to see where I was going to end up going and all that stuff. And we knew that Tobin Bell was back and Johnny Smith was back and all this stuff. So we knew the pieces were going to be back and all that stuff. So probably again around that early timeline. And we were waiting. It was supposed to come out last year. It got pushed to this year. Supposed to come out in September of this year. And then today the big news broke that it's dead. Saw 11 is dead. Not happening. The franchise unknown where it's going to go. And we got some stuff to talk about here. This is all from bloodydisgusting.com. It was reported on there from an anonymous source. It's saying that the production on the newest sequel is closed. Quote, it's totally dead. It's 100% over for almost a year now. According to the source, everything went sideways in January 2024. The producers started fighting. Of course, that ends up happening. One producer attempted to keep the movie going and plow forward, while the other one put the roadblocks up. Can't do that, of course, with the producers. You got to have them on board. Lionsgate didn't have anyone there to help smooth it over, according to the anonymous source, which you would think they would. Lionsgate has not had the best track record lately, and the only thing that's been working for them is the Saw franchise. And that's a big kick in the pants for them. You would think they would be able to do something, but I believe Twisted Pictures is the one that owns everything over there with the Saw franchise. So it's not necessarily anything Lionsgate can really do other than begging and pleading for them to, hey, let's get this worked out. Let's get this out there. This sounds, honestly, the way this sounds, and I hope it does not go this route because we are still feeling the effects of this. Um, this sounds very Friday the 13th. Remember the, the battle that's been going on Friday the 13th and who owns this right and who has that right and all that stuff. Like, hopefully, it's just a quarrel between the two producers and they can figure out something to get it going. I remember talking news wise that Saw may be moving to another company. Like, I remember A24 was one of the names. There was another name that was involved in that. I remember talking about that on the show at some point that it could be going there. That's wild, man. It is wild, especially when we were expecting a new movie, especially coming off the success of the last film. It's like Saw franchise, they used to release movies every single year. Remember, like every Halloween, it was on record. It was like boom, Halloween, boom, there's Saw. It's not Halloween without Saw. I remember them doing that tagline. And yeah, that just falling apart just seems like such a hot mess. Like, that's, how do you let that happen? Like, how does that happen after all these years? Like, again, I think 2 decades, right? And just unfortunate. Again, very sounds very Friday the 13th. Let's all in the horror realm hope that it's not Friday the 13th issue here where it's just stuck in limbo for decades upon decades, because don't need that, man. I know the Saw films are like certain taste for people. Like those movies, they're torture, corn, and all this stuff. Don't want to get flagged, but you know what I'm meaning. You know what I mean. And Some people don't like those movies, and I remember back when I did have a Patreon, I did a Nightmare on Review It Street where I went through all of the Saw films at the time. Saw X wasn't out then, was it? I think I did an extra episode for Saw X for it. But I think the films are enjoyable enough. The story does wane. Some of those films become a little ridiculous and just becomes, let's just see how much damage we can do in the movies other than serving the story. But there's always some kind of entertainment value in it. Again, you got to be kind of sick, I guess, to find entertainment value in those movies. But there's always something about the films, and Saw always felt like one of those franchises that you can kind of just sit behind and expect what to expect and just see what happens. And again, Saw X, the most recent film, was good. Like it was really well done. So it's just a kick in the horror pants, man. While we're waiting to see what happens with that franchise. But man, what a unfortunate event that happened. We can blame Six Flags. You know what? We're gonna blame Six Flags for this because they had the Saw House last year, right? And now, and that never worked out too well, right? I don't know. I'm talking out of my behind. Probably worked well. I don't know. That's how it works, right? We always got to find somebody to blame. Apparently, the blame is on one of the producers. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens there. I haven't seen anything other than the Bloody Disgusting article about it, but we can trust those people over there. They follow me on social, so we trust them. We'll see what happens. But as for now, Saw 11 has been sawed. I said it. Shut up. But that's going to be this episode, man. So The Electric State gave my thoughts on that one. Very good movie, in my opinion. And then the unfortunate news of the Saw film being canceled. It looks. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments about both that movie and the Saw news. That'll do it for this episode. I'd like to remind you always that you are magical, you are perfect, you are incredible, man. Trust in yourself, believe in yourself, love yourself, chase your dreams. They're going to be there for you. Just keep believing in yourself, believing in those dreams, and they will happen. And as always, remember that happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.